chapters 24 and 25. Athanasius, passing through Jerusalem on his return to Alexandria, is received into communion by Maximus, and the synod of bishops convened in that city confirms the Nicene Creed. Athanasius, the bishop, being fortified with such letters as these, passed through Syria and came into Palestine. On arriving at Jerusalem, he acquainted Maximus, the bishop, both with what had been done in the Council of Sardicia and also that the Emperor Constantius had confirmed its decision. He then proposed that a synod of the bishops there should be held. Maximus, therefore, without delay, sent for certain of the bishops of Syria and Palestine, and having assembled a council, he restored Athanasius to communion and to his former dignity, after which the synod communicated by letter to the Alexandrians and to all the bishops of Egypt and Libya what had been determined respecting Athanasius. Whereupon the adversaries of Athanasius exceedingly derided Maximus, because having there before assisted in his deposition, he had suddenly changed his mind, and as if nothing had previously taken place, had voted for his restoration to communion and rank, when Erascius and Valens, who had been fiery partisans of Arianism, asserted these things, condemning their former zeal. They proceeded to Rome, where they presented their recantation to Julius, the bishop, and gave their assent to the doctrine of consubstantiality. They also wrote to Athanasius and expressed their readiness to hold communion with him in future. Thus, Erascius and Valens were at the time subdued by the good fortune of Athanasius and induced to recognize the Orthodox faith. Athanasius passed through Pelusium on his way back to Alexandria and admonished the inhabitants of every city to be aware of the Arians and to receive those only that profess the Homoousian faith. In some of the churches also he performed ordination, which afforded another ground for accusation against him, because of this undertaking to ordain in the diocese of others. Such was the progress of affairs at that period in reference to Athanasius. Chapter 25. Of the usurpers Magnithius and Veturino. About this time an extraordinary commotion shook the whole state, of the principal heads of which we shall give a brief account. Deeming it necessary not to pass over them altogether, we mentioned in our first book that after the death of the founder of Constantinople, his three sons succeeded him in the empire. It must now be also stated that a kinsman of theirs, Dalmatius, so named from his father, shared with them the imperial authority. This person, after being associated with them in the sovereignty for a very little while, the soldiers put to death, Constantius having neither commanded his destruction nor forbid it. The manner in which Constantine the Younger was also killed by the soldiers on his invading that division of the empire which belonged to his brother has already been recorded. More than once after his death, the Persian War was raised against the Romans, in which Constantius did nothing prosperously, for in a battle fought by night on the frontiers of both parties, the Parisians had to some slight extent the advantage, and this at the time when the affairs of the Christians became no less unsettled, there being great disturbance throughout the churches on account of Athanasius and the term Homoousian. Affairs having reached this pass, there sprang up a tyrant in the western parts called Magnentius, who by treachery slew Constans, the emperor of the western division of the empire, at that time residing in the Gauls. This being done, a furious civil war arose, and Magnentius made himself master of all in Italy, reduced Africa and Libya under his power, and even obtained possession of the Gauls. But at the city of Cyrenium in Illyricum, the military set up another tyrant whose name was Veturiano, while a fresh trouble threw Rome itself into commotion. For there was a nephew of Constantine's, Napoleon by name, who, supported by a body of gladiators, assumed the sovereignty. He was, however, slain by some of the officers of Maxentius, who himself invaded the western provinces and spread desolation in every direction.